So I'm working in a couple of my little journals today. I like to work in more than one at a time so that I can use up any excess paint and work in one while the other one's drying. So this one is the little junk journal I made recently, and the video for making it is in my art journaling playlist. I want to gesso the pages as most of them are quite thin and a bit shiny, and it just prepares the surface. So I used clear gesso on the first one, as I liked the green that was already there and I didn't want to cover it up. And I'm using little pieces of baking paper to protect the pages. I like having some black pages, so I'm just using some black gesso there on that one. And then I'm using some white gesso on the facing page, just for a bit of contrast. I find that having a heat gun is really useful when you're working small, otherwise you're waiting ages for the paints and the pages to dry. So apparently you can use a hairdryer too if you don't have a heat gun. So while that's all drying thoroughly, I'm going to work in this other little journal that I've already made a start in, and I choose a random page that just catches my eye. One of the beauties of these journals is that you can just pick a random page and you don't feel you have to start at the beginning and work through. I like to use craft paints in these kinds of journals because it's cheaper and they usually work just as well. Here I'm using yellow ochre, and I added a layer with a stencil using a piece of sponge. And you can see on these pages I've already got a few layers of different things, so I just add to it as I feel like it. And I had my phone out just finding the Bible verse that I'd read earlier, and it was the verse of the day on the YouVersion Bible app, Jeremiah 17:7. But blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in him. And I'd happened to find a picture of a signpost that worked well with the verse. It was a picture that I'd done with a packing tape transfer. So that image there is on some packing tape. And I'll put the link to Jenna's brilliant video on how to transfer images to packing tape below. And I just added some white craft paint with my fingers because I wanted to create a white area for the sky on the picture to show through. And I make sure the area is all completely dry before sticking on the picture with matte medium. And I'm using a wedge scraper tool by Catalyst just to remove all the air bubbles. And then I'll apply a layer of medium just on top to get rid of some of the shininess. I've got some olive green craft paint there, and I'm going to mix it with some white to make it paler. But the white craft paint didn't really achieve the paleness I wanted, so I used some stronger white paint. That's one by Amsterdam, and I'm just applying it with my palette knife. I don't like wasting paint, so I apply some of it to some other pages. So I just put that journal aside to dry and get the other one back out. I'm using a music stencil here by Tim Holtz, and it doesn't actually make a very good music pattern. It's a bit disappointing, but it does give some interesting marks. And again I'm just using up some excess paint, as the pale green's quite a good starting layer. Now here I've picked out a bit of collage paper quite randomly, as I like the orange, it looks good against the pale green. And it's actually a bit of book paper that I'd scraped some excess paint onto during a different project. But I realised as I'm pasting it down and the orange spreads everywhere that it was probably gouache, which is water soluble and therefore reactivates. So I embrace it and spread the colour around a bit. And then I use my Stabilo All black pencil to make some marks and activate it with a damp brush. Back to my previous page, which is now dry, I'm going to add the Bible verse with some small letter stamps and a black StazOn ink pad. And now it's back to the other journal to add some collage. And I'll see you in part 2.